For 2 decades, Mexico has been fighting a war against drug cartels. But here's the crazy part: the government is actually losing. Police officers, politicians, even soldiers. Many of them bow down to a shadow power that's richer, better armed, and way more feared by the people than their own government. On the streets along the border, the law isn't determined by the government anymore. It's controlled by armed gangs running a global trade from the shadows. But this isn't just another crime story. This is about how illegal organizations evolved into a geopolitical superpower. This is about Mexico caught in the middle of a power struggle between America, China, and the cartels themselves. Welcome to the insane reality of modern Mexico. Behind Mexico's vibrant culture and rich traditions, there's a war that's been raging longer than any other conflict in modern America. A war against drug cartels that somehow created an even bigger monster. Back in 2006, President Felipe Calderón declared war on drugs. Sounds good on paper, right? Well, since then, over 400,000 people have died. Millions more have fled conflict zones. And instead of ending, the cartels just got stronger. They penetrated every layer of government, the economy, even diplomacy. The state still exists on paper, but on the ground, the real power belongs to whoever holds the guns and the money. That's when the drug war transformed into something much darker. A war for sovereignty itself. So here's the million-dollar question. How did cartels evolve from street gangs into global geopolitical players that actually challenge nation-states? In many Mexican cities, gunfire isn't breaking news anymore. It's just routine. Like your morning coffee, except way more terrifying. From Michoacan to Culiacan to Guerrero, locals know that when night falls and the power goes out, it means the cartels are moving. And trust me, you don't want to be outside when that happens. Mexican cartels aren't like the gangs you see in movies anymore. They've transformed into parallel power structures with their own economic systems, armed forces, and get this, they even have their own people's courts for citizens who obey them. In some regions, people literally pay protection taxes to cartels just to run a business or farm their land without getting bothered. Meanwhile, the government? They're just faces on TV, not actually present on the ground. Historians point to something interesting. The roots of cartel power grew after economic liberalization in the NAFTA era. That's the North American Free Trade Agreement from the 1990s. When borders opened up, legal and illegal goods became nearly impossible to tell apart. The cross-border trade meant to strengthen Mexico's economy, actually strengthen smuggling networks instead. Whoops. When the government failed to provide jobs, thousands of young people got recruited by organizations like the Sinaloa Cartel and Los Zetas. These groups promised steady income and respect in the underworld. For many, it was the only option that made sense. Over time, their power rivaled local governments. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, about 1/3 of Mexico is now under direct or indirect cartel influence. Think about that for a second. 1/3. This created a new term, narco-governance, shadow government by narcotics groups. They build hospitals, fix roads, give scholarships to kids in their territories. Sounds nice, right? Wrong. This isn't kindness, it's buying public loyalty. And when people start thanking cartels instead of their government, that means the state has lost the meaning of sovereignty. Today, many observers don't even call Mexico a unified nation anymore. They call it a cartel federation where each region is controlled by its own boss. And that's where the big question comes in. Is Mexico still a country? Or just a power map covered with mafia territories? Alright, let's talk money. Because drug trafficking in Mexico isn't just a criminal issue anymore. It's become the dark heartbeat of the global economy, connecting 2 continents and shaking up relationships between world superpowers. In every gram of fentanyl entering the United States, there's a trail of chemical precursors from China, smuggling routes through Mexico, and the blood of Americans dying from overdoses in small-town America. The numbers are insane. We're talking 50,000 to 75,000 American deaths per year from fentanyl overdoses, every single year. The Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, now operate like international corporations. I'm not even exaggerating. They don't just control borders and ports. They control an incredibly complex supply chain. From chemical raw materials, to production laboratories, to cross-border distribution networks. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies, these cartels have evolved into multinational organizations. And drugs? That's just one part of their portfolio. They're also into human trafficking, illegal mining, even energy. These guys are diversified like a Fortune 500 company. But of all the dark products they control, fentanyl is the crown jewel. This synthetic substance is smaller, cheaper, and way deadlier than heroin. A single drop can kill an adult human. That's terrifying. Here's where it gets geopolitical. Mexico isn't the producer of these chemicals. Almost all the basic chemical precursors for fentanyl come from China. They're smuggled through sea routes to ports like Manzanillo and Lazaro Cardenas, then processed in hidden labs under cartel supervision. Once the fentanyl is ready, cartels know one thing: real power isn't just in weapons, it's in the supply chain. So they expand their grip. According to Brookings Institution analysis, Mexican cartel networks like Sinaloa and CJNG have spread far beyond national borders. They place trusted operatives in Guatemala and Colombia to secure supply routes while partnering with local gangs. In many places, they operate like shadow governments, using money, violence, and influence to buy loyalty from officials and local authorities. Drug trafficking isn't just an underground business anymore. It's formed a massive logistics network crossing Central America, the Caribbean, all the way to the Pacific. A network as complex and coordinated as global energy routes, just running on the dark side. The irony? This dark economy generates over $50 billion per year. That rivals Mexico's biggest legal industries like oil and tourism. That dirty money flows into international banks, into politicians' accounts, and finances cartel wars. Every dollar that gets laundered is proof that global economic power can no longer be separated into legal and illegal. But the scariest part isn't the money. It's the influence behind it. In many cases, cartels can determine who leads a city. They manipulate local elections, fund campaigns, and ensure results favor them. For poor people living in isolated regions, the government is a distant entity. Cartels, on the other hand, provide jobs, electricity, even security in a bitter irony. These criminal organizations have become the state for people abandoned by their own government. In the flow of global trade, Mexico's border isn't just a line on a map anymore. It's a symbol of modern civilization's failure. When economic power and military strength are no longer monopolized by the state, but by entities that are more fluid, more brutal, yet also more efficient. And if the global supply chain can be controlled by them, a terrifying question emerges. Will the future of world trade be run by governments or by armed shadow rulers?